What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of the Dads, not always on wrestling. And forgive me for saying, Jeff, but thank God we're not talking about wrestling this week. For 5 shows straight here on the
Yes.
channel, we have talked about wrestling. It was WrestleMania season. WrestleMania was in full bloom. And it was only right to have that much wrestling content. So it is nice to take a step back, hang up the boots and the singlets, put on your regular old street clothes, throw on those Mickey ears, and we're going to take a stroll through the gates into the original Magic Kingdom today. And we are going to discuss, as Uncle Walt over here looks on at us, the top 10 Disneyland attractions of all time. Just to make sure we're being clear here, we're not talking about Disney California Adventure. We're not talking about any of the other theme parks around the world. We are strictly talking about the park that opened July 17th, 1955, Disneyland in Anaheim, California. Any ride, show, attraction, parade, fireworks spectacular that has encompassed those walls since that day all the way up until today is considered free game. And Jeff, you and I are probably some of the biggest Disney dorks that are out there on the planet. One of us even has a Disney character tattooed on them.
And
What's
surprisingly, it's
going
not
on, man?
me.
Are you ready for this journey through Uncle Walt's Magic Kingdom?
I am a mixed bag today. I'm not going to lie, Uncle Jay, because yes, we are finally through the wrestling centric status of our channel and our show, and we are moving on to not bigger and better, but definitely different things. Because, like you said, 5 weeks is a long time, or without non wrestling content on any of my shows. And the channel at large. However, I am emotional for a couple of reasons. Today, actually, the park is reopening to the guests for the first time in over a year. So, right, exactly. I had the minor bit of insanity to try to go, and then I realized that I don't want to sell my child to slavery just yet to go to Disneyland, just yet. So we'll hold off on spending that kind of money until a later date. But it's also very surreal that it. Full disclosure, he and I. Toward the end of last week, we're trying to brainstorm something to do for our non-wrestling show, and we're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and like we can't seem to decide on a a topic that really would hit home for either one of us that I could, because we had a couple things to go, yeah, but I don't know if I can do that, a 10 worth of that, because I don't have enough feeling for that. And, much like the clock tower would get struck by a lightning bolt, a few months after this place opened up, just up the road there in Hill Valley from Anaheim, all of a sudden it was like, dude, the park's opening that Friday, you moron. Do your list of top 10 Disney attractions. And JJ said, what do you consider an attraction? And I said, well, there's an official listing somewhere that says what it is, but pretty much any form of uh, ride or actual sit down, you watch it in front of you show, or fireworks or anything of that nature is considered a Disney attraction, be it here, Florida, Shanghai, Paris, wherever. So that's where we had to really say, okay, if we do top 10 Disney attractions, we're going to be here until May 30th. So, because that's just how we are with Disney, JJ and I. Okay, go ahead and do Disneyland. And then he even asked me, Are we doing California Adventure? I said, I did just Disneyland. I'll leave it up to you to make a decision. And if we're doing DCA, I can augment my list if necessary. And he said, no, we'll stick with Disneyland. That way we can have future things to latch onto down the road. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed to make sense to me. Is like if you did your list that quickly, because since we're being full disclosure, I was at work at the time, so I couldn't just sit down and start working on a list. But I figured if you did your list that quickly and you just did Disneyland, it was like, all right, we'll just stick to Disneyland, because we could very easily do a top 10 Disney California Adventure show somewhere down the road, as Barry Manilow used to say,
Right. Yeah. And the issue with
Jeff, I was going to say, and Jeff kind of hit me up. It was like, well, I tend to like turn my nose a bit at DCA and don't know if I can really do that. It's like, but dude, come on. We've been in that park long enough. We can do 10 DCA attractions.
Yeah, I do feel bad in that, easy. I'm sorry, I know. I would love to do, have at some point, if we can't get you back there, have a guest star come in and do the Florida attractions. But then I thought, dude, I haven't been back there in 13 years. They've had a lot of shit back there. So that would have to be a whole other conversation much more down the road. And we figured, you know what? There's a lot of people in our audience that, yes, haven't been out to California before, haven't been to Disneyland before. I encourage you guys, not really saying this, just once you hear our lists, hop on YouTube, check out the POVs and the 4Ks or that everybody posts all the damn time, because as highly illegal as they are, they do give you guys a great insight of what you are missing have you never been to Disneyland, California Adventure, the like. And I take solace in those videos, especially in the last 16 months, not being able to go. So
definitely,
yeah.
You talk about having like a special guest on. I almost reached out to our favorite currently employed Disney cast member to see if she would like to join us on this show. But I figured then we'd be on at least till May 2nd or 3rd talking about Disney. And, we didn't want to do that to our audience. So
would have been, we would have been stuck in New Orleans Critter Country for the better part of the show. And let's not kid ourselves. So
what is wrong with Critter Country? You're
not a
talking
damn thing.
Mess to the wrong person if you're talking about being stuck in Critter Country, sir.
Yeah. Okay, stuck meaning if we're going to try and encompass the whole park, between you and Dee Dee, we would be able to get out of, anywhere between what we'll know going to be Splash Mountain pretty soon and the freaking the Blue Bayou. We'd be in that corridor for about 6 hours, just two of you talking. So, and again, not an issue for me or anybody else that we love, but for the audience, are like, did they get over to the castle yet?
Let's be fair.
Yes.
We'd go about as far as Big Thunder Mountain. Give us a little bit of credit.
Okay, so
because Big Thunder Mountain is next to the Mexican restaurant where we used to do all our pin trading. So got to at least extend it over there.
I don't know if I don't know where it is. I'll bring it up on the show here later. But I did get my hands on a 2020 Disney pin that I really wanted to share. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I've been excited about this since we decided it was going to happen. But like I said, you and I just love this place so much, and
this is our happy place.
It is our Wusa place. You deem this my Wusa place at a time where I needed a Wusa place. So I'm so happy we get to do this show because both of us have missed this place so much. You've mentioned over the years so many times that you deem this my Wusa place, and it really is that way for both of us. It very much is our place of when we need it at the time, because we were living so close. We could catch the bus, go down there, and just walk through and just relax. It was one of those, if we needed it, it was there. And it hasn't been that way for any of us Disney fans for almost a year and a half. And with the park finally opening today, it gives me that little glimmer of hope that I'll get to go, because you and I both know, Jay, and I'll get more on that later as we go on here. Not having this place and not being able to take my family at the end of last year during the holidays really rented the penthouse suite in my head, and still does. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, absolutely. Back in the days pre-pandemic, when annual passes were still a thing, like you said, man, we would just pick up and go. We didn't have anything we had to do at the Casa that day. We didn't have to film one of our 15 shows that we were doing. We just grab our stuff, jump on the bus, and head down there. And, you know, on one of my reviews that I just did recently for Ocean's 11, I discussed how I was kind of like that guy that goes to Vegas and doesn't have to gamble. I could just walk around Vegas taking in the sights, the sounds, the architecture, the smells, the ambiance. That's very much the same way I am at Disneyland. Now, obviously, when I go back the first few times, it won't be that way because you'll want to do all the rides and attractions. I feel like us as annual pass holders kind of, and I'm saying this kind of nonchalantly, I don't mean any real ill about it, but I feel like we kind of turned into some of the ungrateful pass holes that the cast members deal with on a regular basis because we started to take the park for granted. And
Yes.
even though we weren't the Karen or Kevin level of pass holes that some people are, this 16 months break has really made us appreciate what is sitting there in the middle of Anaheim, California, where those orange groves used to be, just a little bit more, you know. But I used to be the guy, and I ended up getting Jeff to be that guy too, where we would just go into the park. We wouldn't do a single ride, with the exception of either the bus there or the tram from the parking lot, all day. We would just wander the park. We would pin trade. We would character hunt. We would sit on a bench on Main Street and people watch. It was such a great place to go and just allow your stresses to disappear. Even though there's so much hustle and bustle and chaos at the parks, very easy to get bumped, stepped on, pushed on accident, etc. Just find a spot, man, and you take in, whether it's the Dapper Dans on Main Street or the piano player there on Coe Corner, you know, or any of those little ambiances within the park, you know, Billy Hill and the Hillbillies, the Firehouse 5+2, whatever. You just sit there and you take in all those, the flag retreat ceremony.
Yeah. That one gets me every time.
Go cop a squat in the Main Street Opera House and take in the exterior of Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln and all the stuff that's going on in there before you even enter the hall and hear Honest Abe speak. All these little things. So great to do, and such great, like I said, stress relievers for us. But I digress. We're getting off into the weeds as we do. We're already probably at least 15 minutes into this, and Jeff hasn't even given one of his list yet. So, Jeff, being as how it's non-wrestling, let's turn it over to you for the kickoff. Please give us your list of the top 10 Disneyland attractions of all time.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that, as I always say that I do. As always, with this, with this or any of our lists, I mean, really, let me just there we go. Everything that we're gonna say here is very much an opinion. It very much is what we feel. And again, we are not saying, and nor will we ever say, that our list is right, yours is not, because especially when it comes to Disneyland, every opinion is hashtag subjective, period. There can be however many things there are inside Disneyland, and I don't have the exact count in front of me right now, but you put the nail on the head, Jay. People go there for completely different reasons. Some people go there and get these multiple day pass or whatever, and they do completely different things all the days they're there and never do the same thing twice. So these are the ones that we feel that we love for our own personal reasons.
My first honorable mention comes into this list as a result of the collaborative effort of three very, very talented people from different avenues of entertainment, and it all came together in this one amazing attraction.
It was very simple. You had the directorial awesomeness that was Francis Ford Coppola. You had the creative and often technological genius that was George Lucas, and the amazing music talents and dancing ability of the king of pop himself, Michael Jackson. And if you don't know by now, I'm talking about Captain EO, then you're not paying attention about Disney stuff. I mean, Captain EO, it's very funny. You mentioned earlier, that we took the park for granted, or it seemed like we did. People very much took this attraction for granted toward the end of its original end of mid 90s end of run. It, for what it was at the time, it was so innovative and such a thrill for me as a kiddo to go see this every time I was at the park, that when they took it away, I only sought solace in its absence because my dad and the company he works for did a lot of work on the replacement show, which was, of course, Honey, We Shrunk the Audience, which a lot of the special effects you see on that show were very much my dad's work. But when Michael passed, they brought it back because they taken Honey, I Shrunk the Audience for reason. I want to say it was something else other than what ended up being there, but whatever it was didn't draw the people it warranted in order to have that theater, the Magic Eye Theater, open on a regular basis. But when Michael passed away, the want, the need, the desire for anything and everything Michael became so prevalent that Disney went ding, and they reinstated Captain EO, at least for a brief time. So my son's mother, being the Michael fan, being the Captain EO fan that she, I assume, still is to this day, we were at Captain EO almost every time. It very much became one of our we have to go here today when we go spots. So definitely, and I'll mention, not so much on the list because, yes, love Captain EO, but there are many other things we had to do for me that were prevalent going to see Michael.
I always loved Captain EO. Some of Michael's music for me was hit and miss. The earlier stuff I liked better than a lot of the later stuff.
Definitely.
But man, the songs in Captain EO, and, in all honesty, the Bad album itself, because a lot of the songs from Captain EO were taken off of Bad or recorded around the time of the Bad sessions. Just a stellar album that gets, in my opinion, a little bit underrated when it comes to Thriller.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's very hard to follow Thriller for anybody, especially the artist themselves. So you gotta kind of keep that shit in perspective. But yeah, We're Here to Change the World and Another Part of Me are both amazing songs. If somebody can figure out a way to get Spotify to get their hands on a Michael cut, a clean cut of both of those songs, and not just have one or the other on there at any given time, I would love you long time, for real, because I never seem to have them both on the platform at the same time. It's very obnoxious. So next honorable mention for me also is over in Tomorrowland. It is to my knowledge, and I don't know how accurate this is. I actually just watched the special this week about Imagineering, so they probably said it when I was trying to, wind myself down and go night-night, so they may have. It's one of the very few original indoor roller coasters. It may even be the original. The soundtrack is amazing. The setup is great. The ambiance and presentation of it is just stellar and has been since its beginning. This attraction very much adopts the idea that we've talked about as fans, as wannabe cast members. Everything you see about this is on stage, is a show. It immerses you 100% Space Mountain. By the way, going forward here, I'm going to try to have as many pictures of either myself or JJ on the attraction or at the attraction or whatever, because these are more personal to us than most of the other lists we're going to do this on this show, because this place means so much to us. So there you see me and all my baldness toward the back of the car, having a good old time. And I find it funny looking back that with all the extra shit I used to carry on the trains or the cars or whatever, that I didn't lose something in the darkness. I have heard people losing things there and had to go back at the end of the day when they shut her down, had to go, get a little behind the magic look to find their sunglasses or whatever. But it is a kick at the minute you go down that last little countdown, you are moving. And it's very, very short, very, very quick turnaround once you get it into the pull back into the bay there to finish. But man, it is an awesome, awesome presentation. I love every bit of it. One of my favorite things about Disney ever. So next up is a recent addition to my list, to the parks in general. I actually have only ridden this ride once, or I've been on this attraction one time, because I've only been to the park one time inside the gate since it opened up. And it very much ties into your marathon that's starting tomorrow, much like Space Mountain does. However, this one ties directly into your marathon on Renegade's Review starting tomorrow. Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run. And yes, that is me in Han Solo's seat. I had to take a moment to breathe. I'm not going to lie. We arranged it so when you go to this ride, you basically get handed a card. You're a pilot, you're an engineer, whatever. It wasn't an intentional thing that we did. It's just we held back enough where my aunt and I both got pilot cards. So I ended up in Han's seat. She ended up in Chewie's. And it was just, I had heard so much good about this ride and how awesome it was going to be, how much potential there was. But man, I was not prepared for how completely immersed in the world I was. This is something that the Star Tours fans have been salivating over wanting to be a part of ever since Star Tours opened in '87. Just a great experience. The good part is if the lines maintain once things open up and that line is forever, I don't need that ride anymore, because I've already done sat in the seat I needed to sit in for the rest of my damn days. So I'm okay with that. My final honorable mention, and again, I had them in order originally, but I wanted to touch on this one last because this one's a personal one for myself and for my dad. In the early 90s, the move to take out the people mover in both parks was pushed forward. And the resulting thing of that was in 1998, on the same track, they opened up a ride that they hoped would generate more interest and would be a unique thing to at least our park here in California, and would really make people stand up and attention. And it did that for all the wrong reasons. This poor, maligned little ride just could not get its little self off the starting blocks. Tech issues from Dump Street. Everything was so great on paper and just did not execute worth a shit. We still feel bad about it to this day. And nothing any of us could have done necessarily, that as fans like myself or the people that were in the process of bringing it together, like my dad's company was. But it does exist in our hearts. And at the That's from Disneyland exhibit a couple years ago, one of the cars still exists and went up for auction. I'm talking about the rocket rods. If you missed this attraction being a thing between 98 and 2000, video does exist of the ride queue, as far as the walkway, the entrance, which actually is now the queue for Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters.
And while they got rid of the Rocket Rod's queue and redesigned it for Buzz, the actual track itself is still as it was 20 years ago. But back east, I heard recently they reopened People Mover itself. So there's maybe a little bit of hope we'll get that attraction back. I always love the People Mover, so hopefully we will see them redo that here in the next few months, years, whatever it takes.
Corny though it was, and honestly still is, it'd be cool to see it again. But this ride, yeah, this will always be a special place in my heart, of a time that I really remember my dad and the company he works for really being invested for the very first time, like really, really deep into it. So, and it sucks that it's inoperable and would never really get off the block. All right, and we're going to stick to Tomorrowland for number 10 for me. And I find it funny that it made the list as low as it did, because I do love this attraction. And at least early on, when you were in line to board the ride and you had the announcer guy announcing all the stops you could hit on the Star Speeder 3000 en route to the Forest Moon of Endor for your vacation, that voice was a good friend of my family's. So it was cool to hear our buddy Randy's voice, pop out of the PA as you're walking through and seeing 3PO and R2 and everybody working on the attraction. And when they refurbished the ride in 2005, I believe it finally opened back up, that element was removed, but it's still a very wonderful attraction. It very much is the precursor to your Back to the Future the ride, Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, all these simulator rides you see that are completely 100% immersive. It all began right here with Star Tours. And you'll notice I have Star Tours, the Adventure Continue in the foreground or whatever, and then the original Star Tours marquee here at the bottom, powered by Energizer. It's been around for a while.
Going.
Right? From the creative forces of Disney and George Lucas. I mean, you can't go wrong with those two forces. And of course, now they are, of course, the same thing, because Lucasfilm was bought by Disneyland, by Walt Disney Company. But this was the first indicator that Disney was willing or seeking to go outside their little mouse-eared bubble to make things happen. And Star Tours has been one of my favorite things I've ever done at Disneyland. And now with the additions of all the different universes, all the different movies, and the way they redid the attraction and the algorithm within is so cool. You don't know what you're going to do once you strap in that seat and put those glasses on. And I find that eternally fascinating. That's a wonderful thing. And I'm sure you'll get into that more when you get your list later. I don't doubt for a minute it's on your list too. But I just absolutely adore this ride. And the thing I love is, even now, almost 40 years later, or 35 years later, 35 years this year, if I remember right, the lines for this are still atrocious. It's almost like if you don't have the ADA access with a friend that's with you, or you don't have the patience to wait to the end of the day where it's less crazy, you miss this ride. But do not sleep on this ride, especially you long time, or even you new Star Wars fans have never seen this ride. Get in line and wait. It's worth it. I promise you. Great stuff here. Number 9 is a kind of completely opposite end of the spectrum. It is very technologically advanced for its time, and I still say it is to this day. Very much one of the projects that Walt himself took pride in and made an effort to have it be as awesome as it continues to be all these years later. They have one on each coast. I'm not sure about the rest of the parks, but this is the original. This is the one that started it all. And this is one of the best attractions to go into when it's hotter than poo outside and you want to sit down and have a cold beverage, non-alcoholic back then anyway, maybe not so much now, or you want to have a special something like, I don't know, maybe a Dole Whip to sit down and enjoy your show with. Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. Just a wonderful kind of a brief respite from the outside, the craziness of the park, and the technology behind these original audio animatronics. Just to this day, Jay, blows me away. I absolutely love this. I love that they brought it to Florida. I love that they had the Florida attraction taken over by Iago and Zazu under new management. So fun. If you've never seen that, it's not open in Florida right now. They reverted back to the original many years ago. Do yourself a favor and look that up. We're actually going to be screening that later this year on the Disney Streams Facebook group, which I will be talking about later in the show today. But as you can see, Walt supervised this one directly because he's looking up at our buddy there on the perch. So this is one of Walt's babies, and I always, again, this is gonna sound really stupid and really exaggerated, forlorn, fabricated. Certain things in the park, I feel like Walt's presence is still there, very much so in the Tiki Room, because he was so hands-on to that whole process. So I love it for that. The next two are basically the same ride as far as the actual ride movement and park space being taken up by said attraction, but in my opinion, they are two completely different rides. Numbers 8 for me is, it just turned 50 years old, I believe, either last year or the year before last, and it is another one of those technological marvels that only Disney could pull off, and it is so amazing how much detail goes into this attraction, and how, no matter how many times I've been through these halls, I often see something I've never seen before when I go on the ride or walk through the queue or whatever the case may be. The Haunted Mansion over New Orleans Square. And yes, those are the actual stretching photos, paintings that you see there. That's also from the Disneyland exhibit show that I went to with my dad. But I don't really have a good picture inside the mansion, so I wanted to shoot something that encapsulated the idea of the mansion. It's funny, having had Dylan's mom with me along for the ride so many times now in recent years, and going back up the stretching room into the main foyer of the ride is very, very surreal. I'm not going to lie. It's very interesting to watch the de-transformation, the reset button being pushed, if you will. A very, very cool feeling for this little Imagineer or wannabe Imagineer that I am. It's very, very neat to see the inside stuff. The decor is so beautiful, and in its dustiness and in its death feeling, it is a beautiful presentation. I can't say enough good things about that attraction. And then you get into early September, and it just gets weirder, because starting back, and I think it was 05, maybe even a little bit later than that now, they would shut the place down for a good chunk of August into September, because a certain person would be busy decking these haunted halls. And of course, I'm referring to Sandy Claus. Jack Skellington, the Haunted Mansion holiday would become a thing. And again, I didn't do the picture justice because it's a terrible picture, but that's actually when you go into the dining room section of the ride. Normally, you see ghosts huddled around the table, and there's dancing going on and eating and whatnot. This is actually one of many gingerbread houses that they have created for inside that portion of the ride, and the smells of the gingerbread house that waft up to your nose in that doom buggy from that creation is just mind-boggling to me. And the entire presentation, the way the mansion transforms, the ghost hosts, all over the mansion was changed. Everything was deranged. I mean, it's really a completely different experience, but still within the confines of that beautiful old style house. And I love the Haunted Mansion so much that when they offered it as a Jack Skellington story, I was like, ooh, okay, we'll see how it goes. And I love it. I love both. Number 6 for me is always hard. And if you watched the show with me at the end of last year, you know it's hard for me because the presentation that they do during the holiday season at the end of the night every year is so pretty, and the music is so extraordinary, and the lights are just fantastic. Not Mick, we'll get there. But it always makes me sad because I'm reminded of things that are lost. And I'm talking about Believe in Holiday Magic. And the main picture you see is Walt and Mickey, of course, looking at the castle, the fireworks, whole thing. The inset is the snow falling on Main Street after the entire show is over, and the beautiful ruminations of White Christmas start playing over the PA and on Main Street and throughout the park. But Main Street's the heaviest concentration of snow, so that's why I picked that area. So much goes into that, the way they do that. I'm always so taken aback by how much it gets to me, and at the same time also taken aback at how beautiful it all is, and how they do such a wonderful job uh, of laying these things out. It's very funny. The last two memories I have inside the parks of this park both tie into this show. In 2018, I had ran over from California Adventure. Yes, I ran. Shut up. Um, uh, and bought my Phantasmic shirt, the first ever Phantasmic shirt I ever had, and plopped down pretty much where you're seeing this shot being taken from, on those little benches near the castle. And within a few moments, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. And it turned out I had caught a really, really ugly bacterial tonsillitis that I missed a month of work as a result. Ultimately cost me that job. But it is what it is. The following year was the end of the day that I had my first Club 33 experience. And it was also the last thing I saw at the parks before I have not been in the parks since. So very bittersweet to see that show. Number 5 is controversial. Number 5 has been changed quite a bit in the last few years to appease the PC folk. And I am of the opinion that if that were happening with anybody with enough chutzpah and Disney in their nuts, it wouldn't have been changed. But I'm just the guest. What do I know, right? But even as it is still one of the damnedest things you've ever seen at Disney or any other place. It is very much the pinnacle of the audio animatronic gestation, because everything you see in this attraction, from the minute you sit on that boat and go through that bayou there next to the Blue Bayou restaurant, you are 100% immersed in the world. And it's honestly my favorite ride, and it's my favorite ride on here. So Disneyland wise, hi, this is my favorite ride centric attraction. Pirates of the Caribbean. And yes, that is Johnny Depp. And yes, I realized as I put that up there that I did not take DJ's advice and put the picture on the other side of the thing like I meant to. So I'm gonna take that down right now. Yeah. But the Pirates, I'm okay with the way they introduced the pirate movie characters into the story. But here we are in PC 2021, and not only is the redhead no longer up for auction, she's one of the auctioneers, But now talking about taking Johnny out completely. It's like, why? Again, I'm not gonna make it so much of a political, whatever, but why can't things be left the way they need to be left? And just come on, it's such a great attraction. Can't think at this point to save Splash Mountain. Okay, fine, but Pirates needs to be at least left intact as it is now. Johnny Depp being the polarizing person Johnny Depp has always been. Let's not kid ourselves here. He didn't all of a sudden become a freaking monk because he joined the Disney family. Okay, it's not what happened. Leave it alone. All right. So number four, I love, and I love because of the pictures I took, and I love because of the story that goes behind it. So this attraction ran from, I want to say it started in 72. It's definitely back there a bit. And then in 1996, they decided it was the end of the run. And it was supposed to be the end of the run so much that they actually auctioned off pieces of the attraction for charity. And each of my immediate family, myself, my brother, my parents, each got a small piece of the attraction. Well, as often happens in the world, things change, plans change, and demand either re-increases or re-intensifies. So they did bring back this attraction over in California Adventure for a while. Then they shipped it to Florida for a while. And then they finally brought it back here in the late 2010s. And I got to see it for the first time since return in early 2017 at a friend's birthday. And then Dylan, my dad, and I went and saw it over that summer. And the picture you're going to see here is taken from a spot where if you're walking along the corridor between Fantasyland and the main hub of the park, which is called the hub, we're sitting along a mountainside pretty much. And these pictures I got, I just can't get over how awesome they are. Main Street Electrical Parade. And if nothing else, you don't have to be a Disney person to know when you hear those little twangs of what this is. As soon as your even non-educated ears hear ding diddling ding ding diddling diddling diddling, you know what that is.
Yeah.
Like you know what song that is. And it's so, I'm not gonna lie, and I know I cried everything now, everybody knows at this point, but
You're such a softie for a soulless ginger.
Very much so. But sitting there over by Small World and with my brother there who hadn't seen the show since he was, God, he wasn't even 10 years old when they discontinued it the first time. So having not seen it for so long on the streets of Disneyland, as far as like the path there, I got so worked up at seeing it pass by Small World and seeing everything. But that picture, this right here, having this parade go right in front of my 9-year-old son's eyes and just watching, having him just, wow. When you don't get a whole lot of wow out of him anymore. Back then, even now, it's even worse. Just something. It's I can't even get over how awesome it was. Number 3, I know for a fact is on your list, so I'll keep my thing brief because I'll give you yours to do you on it. It's a crime against nature, be it in bear country or otherwise, that it's not there no mo, but it should be. And I, again, work for my dad's company, notwithstanding, I miss this place very much. And I have no problem with making it one of my have-tos whenever I go back to Walt Disney World because I don't get to see them here. So number 3 for me is the original Country Bear Jamboree or the Vacation Hoedown, or whichever one you are into. I don't judge. But the Country Bear Jamboree, the Playhouse there, which is now the Winnie the Pooh ride, and the reason I have the boys there with me, Max, Buff, and Melvin, is because that picture is taken inside the Winnie the Pooh ride, and they're still there. Left as a tribute to what has been lost, if you will. So I admire Disney for at least acknowledging that they shouldn't have taken them out and they left the boys there to remind you that they'll always be there. So very, very cool. All right. And now here's where things get muddled for me. Because I did tell JJ my top 10 because I wanted him to know what was coming. But in the last few days, I've gone back and forth 100 times. So I am going to do what I originally was going to do in the first place. I don't have a number 2. What I have is a 1 and a 1A. Because they're both right there, even keel for many, many reasons. And they all have to do with this dude right here.
The mouse that started it all.
Very much so. And you know, lest we forget, it was all started by a mouse. That's a Walt always told everybody. They actually both opened around the same time, within a year of each other, which I find eternally funny now looking back. But in the mid 90s, I was very much I was still, hadn't quite turned 10 when either of these places or either of these attractions became a thing. So still very much a young, impressionable kid. And I was very, very much elbows deep in my wrestling fandom by this point. And other than wrestling, Disney, of course, has been my place my entire life. So when both of these things became a reality within the world of fantasy, it became I had to go every time. No matter what time of year it was, no matter how bad the lines were, no matter how much this, that, it doesn't matter. If I don't get to do both of these, when I go to the Disneyland park itself, it's much better now than it used to be. JJ can attest to this. It used to be if I couldn't do both of them, I would literally have to be dragged out of there with tears in my eyes or like just really upset I didn't get to do both. Now it's like, you know what? I'm almost 40 years old. I'm tired. I want to go home. Like, oh, well, I missed it. Whatever.
Jeff Afa would legit throw a tantrum. I can attest to it.
Especially the static one. The show one, I can deal with not because if you don't get a good spot to sit, it's a bitch to watch. So
and a tantrum on the level of the same type of tantrums that would occur when both of our kids would be together. And as we used to say, Wonder Twins unite.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It would be full-blown meltdown, not just a little tantrum and then he was done. No. We're talking, granted, not this extreme, but we're talking the levels of like throw yourself on the floor, kicking and screaming.
Because and again, I'm not justifying that kind of crazy behavior. You shouldn't with anybody. But I'm very much a keep a routine person. And when things change out from under me and I don't have control over it, it pisses me off. So the first one debuted at the park in 1992. And to this day, and again, he's seen it, like, I don't have to say it. He's seen it happen in my face. When that finale hits of this show and good has triumphed over evil, I am there's not a blubbering mess like I used to be, but I definitely get the misties. Like it's the best. It is by and large the best show Disney Parks has ever produced. I'm talking about Fantasmic, starring primarily Mickey Mouse and nowadays primarily as the Sorcerer's Apprentice. As you see him there fighting the dragon, him and Steamboat Willie coming around the bend there. But like the fact that this show is going to be 30 next year, it's so endearing and enduring. It refuses to die. No matter how many times that poor dragon lost his head, literally, any of it. It's
poor Murphy.
God, that poor dragon, for real. But then again, you and I have been around long enough to remember when Murphy's head, that's all Murphy was a head on a big extended, thing that they would like extend out into the show to scare the brave little tailor. And it's evolved so much, good and bad. If you're one of the privileged few that saw the Ursula float on that River of America, dude, give yourself a gold star because you're one of the few that saw her. because she didn't last long. Same with Fox and the Jetsons, even less time they were actually a thing. But this show is so it's pretty. It's so beautiful. Imagineering at their finest, by and large. It is the greatest single show in Disney Parks history. I will fight. I will die on that hill. I will. My other number one, when JJ read what I had, the exact response back was LOL. Oy vey. I didn't believe I actually made it. I stamped that down. It actually was going to be a thing. Mickey's House and me. And I know it's silly, and I know that waiting that long to meet a character seems ridiculous, but then you get pictures like these with your kin, with your family, with your friends, whatever the case may be. And for me, the picture with Mickey is very much the timeline of my life. And I know it seems silly, but you know, as many people I know that have their kids take pictures with Santa, I have a picture of Mickey Mouse going back to at least 2003. It may go back farther than that because I know I have the Florida picture from '97, but there, a picture with Mickey for me, if I do nothing else all day, Mickey's house, or at least a picture with Mickey somewhere on property. Because the last time I went to the parks, I got a picture with him in Town Square wearing my my new Club 33 hat that I picked up that day, which was cool. So yeah, I love taking pictures with the mouse, and I love everything about that place. Honestly, any other honorable mentions, I could say every other damn thing I missed because everything there, good lines, bad lines, whatever. It just it's our place, and I love it to pieces. And I got him because there is in the glass case in Mickey's hallway as you're walking toward going to the movie bar and out through his living room into the garage area. This one and Minnie are in a glass case on display. Now, I don't know if it's the Charlotte Clark originals. I tend to believe it is because they take care of their history. But even if it is one of these applause replicas from the 90s, this is like the closest thing they have to an original. I love that they have that on display. So that's what this main reason I bought him is because he is a tie-in to the history of the park and history of the company, and I love it so much. So now that I've rambled for almost an hour, I will go ahead and turn it over to the man himself. And like I said, if you're a fan of JJ and I, and you don't know what's going to be his number one, you need to reevaluate your life goals, everybody, because you're not paying attention. So off we go.
Yeah. Not that I'm trying to lose viewers from this show, but if you've been following Jeff and I and you do not know what my number one is, then thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
That's right. Well, no. Come back tomorrow to watch his sci-fi stuff start. But you know.
Well, yeah. I'm talking about since this is DADS. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Right.
All right. I'm going to present my list a little bit differently.
Okay.
I will let you know when I'm going to go and do an honorable mention because I'm going to throw my honorable mentions in the midst of my list a little bit there to try and have, as Disney does, a story flow, so to speak.
There you go. Very good. Very good.
So thank you, Jeff, for that introduction. I'm going to try not to ramble for as long as you did, but there's so much passion in these lists that I wouldn't be surprised if I do end up going a whole nother hour. We'll just have to see how things develop here. But my number 10 was one of your honorable mentions. And it made my list for a lot of the same reasons that yours did. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and say that as far as actual list entries go, we have 6 that are the same.
Right.
I know you know this. I'm telling the crowd.
I know.
We always do this. But my number 10 was your honorable mention, one of your honorable mentions, Captain EO. Like I said, a lot of the same things that you said about this, man. You want an attraction that encapsulates the 80s This is it right here.
Very much.
Michael Jackson. I defy you to find me somebody that was bigger than Michael Jackson in the 80s. You can throw Madonna my way. You can even throw Pee Wee Herman my way. And they had their moments where they might have eclipsed him. But as far as longevity and on top of the world through the 80s, this man right here was the 80s.
Yeah.
And that outfit is iconic. The cast of characters, Hooter and Fuzzball, and the leader played beautifully by Angelica Houston. The future Morticia Adams. The songs, like you said, Another Part of Me, which was released on Bad. We Are Here to Change the World, which didn't come out until one of his box sets many years later.
Many, yeah.
We're talking like years later. It didn't even make the History double album. It came out on like a 4-disc box set that came out. I want to say it came out before he passed, but I'm not 100% accurate on that.
I really don't know either.
But even still, like, it was not officially released until it was almost too late. And I have those songs on my computer. Solid copies because they are ripped off the discs. You know, whenever I put my park CDs together, I make sure to throw those on there because you cannot have a Disney Park CD, in my opinion, without We Are Here to Change the World. You can eliminate Another Part of Me because that's kind of like the ending credits theme song, if you will. But you can't have a Disney Park CD without We Are Here to Change the World. That song is just so phenomenal. Number 9 on my list was not on your list. And I know, coming from a good majority of parents, it will never be on their list because it is the dreaded attraction. But it took a long time after I grew up out of a kid till I got to the point where I could appreciate this attraction again. Ironically, it came right around the time of the 50th anniversary because I bought my box set, which I no longer have, the 6-disc A Musical History of Disneyland. Inside of that box set was a book that gave details and history about every single attraction that is covered on those discs. And it wasn't until reading the background and the history and the time, the work, the effort that went into building this attraction, which premiered at the 1964 World's Fair, with its theme song written by the Sherman Brothers, that I began to appreciate as an adult what this attraction stands for. Number 9, It's a Small World. And I just got to say, man, for me, it comes down to the lyrics. As a music guy, forget about the beautiful imagery inside of the ride because that is just outstanding as well. But it comes down to the lyrics that drive every parent crazy because they're repeated throughout the attraction. It's a world of laughter, a world of tears. It's a world of hopes and a world of fears. There's so much that we share that it's time we're aware. It's a small world after all. You know, there is so much that binds us together instead of divides us apart. And I think in this day and age, we need to remember that more than ever. You know, there is just one moon and one golden sun, and a smile means friendship to everyone. Though the mountains divide and the oceans are wide, it's a small world after all. Just sit there and think about those lyrics for a minute. Like, seriously. And again, this day and age, we need those reminders more than ever. So, controversial as it may be for some of the grown folk watching this, yes, number 9 is Small World. Before I get to my number 8, I'm going to do my second honorable mention.
Okay.
Real quick. And it's a newer attraction, which is the only reason it didn't crack the top 10.
Right.
Because I've only been on it once, and I don't feel like I can put, in all honesty, something in my top 10 of all times that I've only done once. In the now existing Star Wars land, Rise of the Resistance. And I know I look like hell in that picture. Forgive me. I was startled when it was taken. Like, it was a, hey, look here, click.
Yeah.
Like, but that is me wandering through the queue area for Rise of the Resistance, which is everything that Star Wars fans love about the franchise. And I'm just going to leave it like that. It is quite possibly the greatest experience in the theme parks.
Wow.
As a whole. Like, I'm talking from you walk in the doors of the queue to getting off the ride experience that you will ever encounter. And were this list done maybe 5 years from now, when it's been around a bit, and we didn't have 16 months off due to quarantine, and I've ridden this attraction now 20 or 30 or 40 times, it very easily could be my number 2. It would never be my number 1 for obvious reasons.
Right.
But it could very easily be my number 2.
I
Because I just walked off of this attraction the first time in shock and awe over what went into it.
Yeah. I figured you just tipped in Bantha Poodoo. That's why you had that look on your face.
Yeah. It's always possible.
Yeah, especially back there.
From my second honorable mention to my first honorable mention.
Okay.
Keeping with the theme here.
He's building a story, kids.
Exactly. If you build it, they will come. It
Wow,
was also one of your. It was also one of your honorable mentions. Go ahead and throw it up there. Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run.
Right.
And as you said, it is probably, next to Rise of Resistance, it is probably the second most immersive attraction that Disney has created. It is everything that Star Wars fans wanted Star Tours to be, like you said. And I understand why Star Tours wasn't that way when it was initially built. But when they did the revamp, when they added the new destinations, me and my dad always wanted there to be little joysticks on the side that you could be firing at the ships that are attacking you while the attack on Endor is going on. And we would even sit there and pretend that we were firing along with the ship. And then they built this ride. And you're a pilot, you're an engineer, or you're a gunner. And you are in control of the Falcon, just like we wanted to be in control of the Starspeeder 3000. With good old Paul Rubens narrating the attraction. And again, I've been on this one more than I've been on Rise of the Resistance, just because it opened like 6 months prior. But I still feel like it's too new of an attraction to really crack my list here.
Right.
But again, give it 5 years, this easily is a top 5 attraction in my opinion. Which brings me to my number 8, which was your official number 10.
Sure.
Star Tours. And that is me And one of my good friends, my longtime friends, Kalea, having just deboarded the attraction on one of my birthday trips with our 3D goggles on.
Love it.
And, you know, you can't beat the original. You know, again, 5 years from now, this is top 10. The other two are definitely top 5.
Right.
But when we're talking today about all time, man, you've got to give the nod to Star Tours over the newer attractions. And, you know, being wannabe Imagineer over here, as you were talking about earlier, I never understood why they didn't just turn Tomorrowland into Star Wars Land.
Right.
And then use the space that they used for Star Wars Land in an attempt to build a new Tomorrowland.
Right.
You know, granted, we would have lost the Falcon. We would have probably not gained Rise of the Resistance or Smuggler's Run because of space. So I'm kind of glad they didn't in retrospect. But you've already got Star Tours there. You've got Space Mountain, which has the Hyperspace Mountain overlay. So you've already got 2 Star Wars themed attractions there. You've got the Jedi Academy over there. That's 3 attractions. You turn Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters into Stormtrooper Training Academy. Because we all know Stormtroopers can't shoot worth a lick. So you keep the same aesthetic as Astro Blasters, but you turn it into a Stormtrooper Training Academy. Bam. You turn the what was Innoventions, what is the Star Wars landing bay, the meet and greet area. You turn that into Coruscant. And you go inside and you can visit the Jedi Temple. You can visit the Senate. Autopia, which, granted, an original attraction is long overdue for a rehaul. You turn into Luke's Land Speeders or a pod race.
Love it.
Finding Nemo submarines, formerly 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You turn into a trip to the Gungan City. It's all right there. It all writes itself. And some of our viewers may be sitting there going, Jesus Christ, that makes perfect sense.
I was going to say, for real.
You know, and then, like I said, the space they used for Star Wars Land, you used to build a newer, better Tomorrowland. Because let's admit it, by the time we got to Tomorrowland looked like the past. It looked like Yesterland. There was nothing really the ways of the future in Tomorrowland, and there still isn't. What really is there in Tomorrowland that is something we haven't achieved? We've been to space numerous times.
Right.
Granted, not us individually, but the human race has been to space. So a trip to outer space, been there. Buzz Lightyear, you got a very similar attraction over in DCA now, Midway Mania. Which is better, if we're being honest?
Oh, yeah.
Finding Nemo? Nah. Good. Autopia?
I like it.
You know, unless you know Goldie Wilson III is going to put hover conversions on those bitches. And even that, it's already past 2015, so that's not in there anymore either.
I like the sound of that.
But yeah, that's what I would have done with that space. And like I said, again, hindsight being what it is, we wouldn't have Rise of the Resistance or Smuggler's Run, which are amazing attractions because of the space. But I mean, come on. Just something to think about.
Oh, without question. Without question.
Number 7 on my list was your number 5.
Oh, okay.
And again, you talk about the politically correct movement.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
I'm sorry, but pirates are not supposed to be politically correct.
I know.
They even say it in their song, and I'm going to go again to the lyrics. We pillage and plunder, we rifle and loot. We extort, we pilfer, we filch and sack. Maraud, embezzle, and even hijack. We kindle, char, and flame and ignite. We burn up the city, we're really a fright. We're devils and black sheep, really bad eggs.
You know,
the killer line, but then the killer line always comes back to the end. But we're loved by our mommies and dads.
Right.
So they do all of this nasty, dirty, filthy stuff, but you want to make them PC. No. Of course they're chasing women. They pillage and plunder. They do other things too that I'm not going to say because it's a trigger word.
Right?
Yeah, they're auctioning off women. Hello, they're pirates.
Yeah.
I understand the PC movement to a certain degree, and you can bring the photo down now.
Oh, shoot, hang on. Sorry.
I understand the PC movement to a certain degree, but pirates are not supposed to be PC.
No, they're not. It's terrible.
The only pirates I've ever really known that are politically correct are Jake and the Neverland Pirates.
Them kids are shady, though.
I'm just saying, though, but come on.
Yep, I hear you. I know.
It kills me sometimes. Number 6 for me was your number 8.
Huh.
And although it was your 8 and 7 because you had both versions of them, I just have the original, the Haunted Mansion. Yes, here I am photographed with Jack and Sally at the gate to the mansion, but I'm speaking about the original, not the Haunted Mansion Holiday. Although I do love the Holiday.
Yes.
And especially, as you talked about the gingerbread house.
Oh, God.
Man,
yes.
I remember that one year that we went on opening day, and the scent of the house was so fresh.
Oh.
And thank God, we were with Dylan's mom at the time, and the queue wasn't super long because we were able to tell them one more round, baby, and they let us go.
Seriously, we came down to that thing, and there was almost no line, and they looked at us, and then off we go.
It was so great to be able to do that on opening day.
Oh, so cool. So cool.
And like I said, the sights, the sounds, the smells, Madame Leota, it's one of the attractions that our good friend worked on a regular basis before she became guest services. And you can now find her usually either at City Hall or at, I forget what they call it in DCA.
She's actually primarily a City Hall girl. Yeah, she's actually primarily a City Hall girl. 99% of the time, she'll be on this side of the resort.
Which is weird because it seems like every time I go, she's in DCA.
Really? Oh, okay. To be fair,
it may just be the luck of the draw for me, but
I mean, yeah. To be fair, I've been on property inside the gates maybe twice since she transferred, so there is that.
Yeah. But
we love you, D.
I love the mansion.
Yes.
Number 5 is a personal favorite of mine.
Very much so.
And there's a small part of me that's surprised that it didn't even make your honorable mentions. But alas, I think it was always more of my thing than it was your thing. Much like Mickey's house is more your thing than it is my thing. Very similar comparison there.
To be fair, brother, I never actually sat down in that show and watched whoever was there. Like I've never really been much, and again, that's a mistake on my part. I admit it now, looking back. But for me, when I was going through that area, it was not about stopping in to where we're going to be here in just a minute and ambiance and food. It was about getting to the mansion, to Pirates, to Splash Mountain, to the Country Bears, whatever. Just no stopping. Just go, go, go. Get past it, and have food later or whatever later. It wasn't about the experience. And looking back, I regret it.
But inside the halls of the Golden Horseshoe Review Theater, Billy Hill and the Hillbillies. And, these guys were so popular that they had 3 rotating teams that would perform 7 days a week. That way, when 2 of them had their off days, there would be a different team. But I'm going with what was effectively known as the A team. Kirk, the leader, Anders on bass, Rick on guitar, and Dennis on fiddle. And underneath the picture of the foursome, you can see me with Dennis, Anders, and Kirk in the middle there. The only one I don't have a picture with is Rick. And I could probably remedy that at Knott's, where they are now playing as Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies, due to Disney's decision to let them go. One of Disney's big blunders, but
yeah.
Billy Hill and the Hillbillies, Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies, the Billies, whatever you choose to call them. This show, this performance art, this theater holds such special memories for me, to the point where one of the Casa D18 brethren was even pulled on stage one day, not during a Kirk show, but during one of the other led shows. Double A was pulled up on stage and was the 5th Billy for a day.
Tremendous.
Footage of that can be found on YouTube also.
Yes, over the Casino Studios channel. There you go. Here's that. Yes.
Number 4 for me. Before I do number 4, I'm going to do my other honorable mention, if you will.
He's weaving, kids. He's weaving again.
Yes. Story time.
Storytelling.
My last honorable mention that I'm going to do premiered right around the time of our nation's bicentennial in 1976.
That's a big word, Uncle Jay. What does that mean?
The 200-year celebration.
Oh, okay.
Coincidentally, 1976 is the same year that something else was born. Or someone else.
Something, yes. Someone.
I'm old. But America Sings. A carousel through musical history. And it was just, I vaguely remember actually sitting in the theater and seeing it at least once.
Right.
I have witnessed this numerous times since then on YouTube, and I used to have it on a DVD.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
But this show was so rich in history. I would say next to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, it was probably the second biggest historical show within the parks. And I only put it at second place because Lincoln is still there.
Right.
But Burl Ives as Sam the Eagle, and you can see some of these characters, and some of them might look vaguely familiar to modern day Disney fans. And that is because pretty much all of them, with the exception of 2 geese, Sam Eagle, and I believe his owl friend, which I forget his name,
I couldn't tell you,
can all be found someplace in my number 4 attraction, Splash Mountain.
Well, until they finish refurb anyway.
I'm sure a lot of them will still stay in there.
Very likely.
because they're not getting rid of those characters. They're getting rid of the characters that the attraction was based on.
Right.
So I'm sure a good majority of them will still have a place in there.
Right.
But Brer Bear, Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, Brer Frog, all will soon be finding new places of residence, if anywhere.
Backstage.
But Splash Mountain, you want to talk about somewhere to go and immerse yourself in a story on a ride.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about somewhere where you can go and cool down on a warm day. Splash Mountain is the place to go, my man. And there you see me in the photo throwing up my straight edge X, very CM Punk style,
Yes.
as I plummet to my doom in the briar patch.
Right.
But anytime that I go to the parks these days and it is a nice warm day, I make sure to make a trip to Critter Country so that I can have me a zippity doo-dah day.
Anyway.
Number 3 on my list was your number 9. And it amazes me that there was that much difference in its ranking between us. But again, subjective. Different styles, different opinions. That's what this show is all about. I think Uncle Walt would appreciate the fact that I hold it in such high regard since it was one of his final projects. Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. And yes, that cute, adorable little boy with his Mickey Mouse ears and his Mickey Mouse t-shirt is me when I was probably 4, maybe 5, I want to say.
Yeah, that's about right.
Like, I'm still little. And God bless you, Jeff, for finding the same tiki god that I am pictured in front of there, because that just totally makes me feel like old looking at the two.
I was ashamed of my damn self. I'll tell you what, I cannot remember the names of the gods. And that picture, with all due respect to the aging of time, if somebody can read that god's name on the JJ picture, send them to a place where they need people with like super sight, because I can't see that worth of shit. So I ended up just researching every god in that tiki display. I went, okay, that's the one. Boom. Took me forever.
You know, once the park reopens, I think I need to take another picture like that.
I agree with it 100%. Same
You
exact
know,
spot on the bench. I agree.
maybe not the ears, but put on a Mickey Mouse t-shirt and just sit on that bench in front of Pele there and take a picture.
Well, if you don't have the classic ears, you always borrow mine, because mine are always with us whenever we go. So, and
I know, but I'm not much of an ears guy these days. I'm a traditional cap guy. So maybe I'll rock the hat I'm wearing now with Walt, Mickey, and the castle.
There you go. There you go.
You know,
Love it.
time has to age a little bit.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But the Enchanted Tiki Room, and if you are a parent who takes their kid to the Tiki Room, I highly recommend that you get there early, you find the cast member at the door, and you ask them if your child can wake Jose up. It is one of the best kept secrets in the park that the cast members do allow you to get involved in and become interactive. My daughter did it. And it will always be a fond memory of mine, watching Natalie wake Jose up.
Very sweet.
I'm not sure if my number 2 was your number 1 or your 1A. I'm going to assume it was your number 1. It can really go either way, though.
Right.
But my number 2 is, as you said, quite possibly the greatest nighttime attraction that Disney has ever produced. Fantasmic. A battle of good versus evil. Sorcerer Mickey versus Maleficent the Dragon there, and you see me with Maleficent and Sorcerer Mickey. To Jeff's shock, surprise, and dismay, because he had never seen Maleficent.
Supreme jealousy.
And there I am with her.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about this a little bit before we came on the air, but going all the way back to the 90s and the early 2000s, when they would have the Riverfront Band on the rafts that they used in the show, performing as like pre-show entertainment before Fantasmic would kick off, all the way through the Jungle Book and Ka and Flotsam and Jetsam and the princesses on the rafts, and every chapter of the story in Mickey's imagination is just so beautifully written, told, and produced that it is hard pressed to find something that is still in the parks that is as well put together as Fantasmic. That being said, it is time for my number one. And again, if you do not know what is coming, thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks. But my number one is the one and only original Country Bear Jamboree. Zeke, Zeb, Ted, Fred, Tennessee, Henry, Sammy, Liverlips, Wendell, Bunny Bubbles, Beulah, Gomer, Sweeney Teddy Bear, Shaker, Big Al, the rest of the crew. Like, it just warms my heart. The Country Bears have so been embedded in my DNA from pretty much the beginning. You know, I cannot think of a time while the attraction was in existence when we went to the park and did not go to Country Bears. During its run at Disneyland, Country Bear Jamboree very much was my Mickey's house.
Oh, yeah.
I had to go. I am thankful and grateful that I was able to personally introduce one person to the Country Bears before it was pulled. I am sad that I have never been able to take my daughter nor Dylan to experience it in person. They've only ever been able to experience it thanks to YouTube and DVD.
Yep.
But, you know, it's such a testament that my daughter loves those bears just as much as I do. And there I am at one of our character fan days with the 4 bears that would come out and walk around. Liverlips, Shaker, Wendell, and Big Al. It's such a crying shame. It's such a crying shame that attraction has been lost.
It's definitely something we need to remedy. We need to get the kids back to Florida and have them. Oh, geez, look at that! Good grief.
Oh, good grief me! You've got a giant-sized Mickey Mouse sitting in front of you, and you're gonna grief me for my.
I wasn't good griefing in disgust or dismay, just in sadness. You prick! Let me have that. Jeez, good lord, it's sad. I was trying to say we definitely need to get the kids back to Disney World and have them. If nothing else, we do the entire trip. We got to hit the Magic Kingdom. We got to hit the Country Bear Hall. Have to.
Exactly.
Have to.
Exactly. You know, I mean, again, want to play wannabe Imagineer here for a moment. I understand that putting it back inside Disneyland would probably be a task and a half, especially now that Winnie the Pooh resides in their old theater.
Right.
Which, in addition to the 3 heads that you pointed out, there is one other remnant of the Jamboree inside that attraction. At least, unless they've replaced it. The hot air balloon
Oh, that's right.
in the Heffalumps and Woozle scene was Teddy Bear's old swing mechanics.
Teddy's. So I totally forgot because they changed it. I forgot it was Teddy's.
But playing Wannabe Imagineer here for a moment. Like I said, since I know that putting it back in Disneyland would be a task, let's gut the Redwood Challenge Trail in DCA. Rebuild Country Bear Hall over there, making it look similar to what it looked like in the movie. And put Country Bear Jamboree, a new updated version, over there. You're right across from Grizzly River Rapids. You're right near the Grand Californian Hotel, which exterior is a log cabin. It fits the motif over there. When the bears come out these days, they tend to come out in that vicinity in DCA. I've gotten pictures of them over by the waterfalls as you head over to what used to be Bugs Land on the left and is now Radiator Springs.
Yeah.
Those waterfalls over there on the right, I've gotten pictures of them over there within the last 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So clearly that is where they are making their presence felt these days. Right. And it just makes sense to throw them in there.
Yeah. The only argument I have with that is I don't want Santa to go back into Elias Company because that was a organizational nightmare. Having him in the Redwood area is really a good idea if you're going to both parks. Now, see, for me, last time I've been there, I've been at Disneyland only, so who, corner, or bust for me as far as Santa goes. But if you are a DCA person, like I don't mind waiting anywhere for Santa or Mickey. You know that. But a lot of parents with their kids are much more impatient than either of our children, although ours are teen now, so they're impatient by nature at this point. But so like for me, I can't imagine having a little one and walking all the way over to the Grand Californian, all the way to the lobby and take a picture with Santa Claus. So, like I would 100% co-sign on the idea of turning that at this point kind of outdated area and refurbing it as Country Bear Hall and the area surrounding it. But where do you put St. Nick between Halloween and New Year's? That's the thing. Unless you make it okay, you have to see Santa at Disneyland if you want to see Santa, which seems kind of shitty because then you have to buy our park hopper if you want both. But again, that's something we can definitely break apart. But just kind of again, I co-sign refurb that whole area because Dylan's done the challenge thing and he liked it, but it's kind of like meh, whatever. It like going over there at this point is yeah, very much so. It's like okay, so where at this point for me, I'm over there. Okay, where's Doug? When's he coming out? Where's Russell? Where's he coming out? I'm waiting for characters at that point. So
okay, that building between Monsters Inc. and what used to be the Muppet Theater, which now houses Mickey's PhilharMagic.
Right.
Where they used to have Dancing with Disney, and even that one year they had it turned into a winter wonderland where you could sled for Frozen.
At Arendelle, right? I remember, yes, sir. There you go.
That's where you meet Santa.
Yeah.
Turn that room every year into a
right.
winter wonderland.
Right.
Complete with Santa and the Misses.
I have heard they're trying to permanently resource that. It's the wrong word, but reuse that room during the holidays last year. They actually extended the opening of downtown into that building. That was the primary Halloween store during October. So it was like I'm on park property. Great. That was part of the allure. The store itself,
I went in there a couple times.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The store kind of was what it was. It was like, okay, this is cool and all, but for me, it's more about the fact I'm actually standing on property. Like the selection of stuff is kind of like, okay, got it.
It wasn't anything that was too much different than what you could buy in World of Disney.
Right.
There were a couple things.
Right.
but nothing that was like, oh my God, this is worth the time to wait to get in here.
Yeah, I was
Like you said, it was definitely more about being able to step on park property until they opened DCA where you could walk in.
right, which it's happening today. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Anyway, yeah, for me, it was interesting to see how they did that. But anyway, I would love, however they pull it off, to have the Country Bears come back, because as much as I want to take my boy to Disney World, and I know you want to take your daughter back there as well, and yes, you want to go yourself. So it's having them experience it in California would just be so much more awesome for me.
Exactly. And while we're playing Wanna Be Imagineer, if any of you guys that are knowledgeable about the Country Bear Jamboree or its show want to know what I would do with it, once we're done watching this, go to your YouTube browser and type in Country Bear Reunion Tour. And you will see a fan made video that I personally put together probably close to a decade ago now of what I would do with the show, what songs I would have the Bears sing. Obviously, I can't animate it or perform it for them, but there are still shots of each bear along with the song selection that I used, which got heavily flagged by YouTube because it's all copyrighted material, let's be honest. But it is just an example of what I would do were I able to get one wish to bring back an attraction, because that would be what I would bring back, no questions asked.
Definitely.
What do you guys think? What are your top 10 all-time Disneyland, not DCA, not Walt Disney World, Disneyland attractions? Let us know. If you guys have been watching the premiere with us and sitting here with us for this hour and 40 something minute journey, thank you. Hopefully, you've been leaving your comments over here right next to me. If you guys think that an hour and 40 minutes is too much to invest at one time and you're watching us on demand, we still thank you and appreciate your viewership. Make sure you leave your comments down here of what you guys' top 10 Disneyland attractions are. Maybe when we get together in a few weeks, we will touch base on it. Or on the May edition of Renegade Recap, we will read some of your guys' lists.
Definitely.
But let us know, because we want your input. Your guys's, believe it or not, your guys's input means everything to us.
It
We
does.
do not continue pushing forward. We do not continue to keep moving forward without your viewership and your suggestions.
So before we send you off for the final hours of April here in 2021, and that's weird to say in and of itself that April's done today. Like, what the hell? How this year is flying by. We say it every year, but it's true. I will say this: I do want to throw a very, very cheap, gratuitous plug up. I hadn't originally been bringing people into this little world of mine that I created last year during the really bad points of the pandemic, but I feel I want to now. I do want to give people the opportunity that can't go to Disneyland, that can't go to California Adventure, that can't go to Walt Disney World, to experience these things with you, myself, whoever else is available to watch on a given Saturday night. Last year, during the month of May, I had decided I was going to stream the original presentation of Fantasmic, which is again our favorite show at Disneyland. Period. Both of us, we said it right here. As far as full on immersive, the whole shebang, that's our jam, baby. And again, I can't recommend it enough. But I was deciding to stream it, just for a few of my close friends, whatever. And then it kind of built and it built and ended up, other than June, I have done a show every single month until this year, when March and April got completely bushwhacked by wrestling, because WrestleMania week, and yes, I was going there, but that works too. combined efforts of WrestleMania and getting the side effects of the shots just kicked my ass for March and April. So, as Mr. Timberlake would say, tomorrow it's going to be May, which means we're starting out a new month. And I'm going to do 3 of those streams this coming month, starting with tomorrow. So if you log on to Facebook and join the group that's listed there at the bottom, I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but that is the Meech's Monthly Disney Fix group. I know it says something different than the purple square up there, but that's what it's called officially on Facebook. And we're going to be streaming what ended up being the final staging of their original Aladdin musical spectacular, which has been said directly led to the addition of Aladdin as a Broadway presentation. So it's very well done. It's a lot of fun. We always enjoyed going over there, taking the kids over there and seeing it. So I want all of you to be able to log on to Facebook if you desire. Join the group. Make sure you join the group because you can't watch that show without being part of the group. So join the group. I do interact because I actually do a live stream. I stream the show and I pop in and go, hi, how are you? And then I show the entire show. And then at the end of it, I come back and wrap things up. Very unlike the other shows I do where it's talking head for 2 hours. It's actually somebody else and then talk head for about 10 minutes in theory. So that's tomorrow. Also tomorrow, and I'm going to go ahead and throw the trailer up there right now for this guy right here, because tomorrow is May 1st. And if you are a Star Wars fan, you know what May means for all of us. But for this gentleman here, it is a month's worth of not just Star Wars, but sci-fi. Take a look. that's a 31-day party for me because I'm a sci-fi dork. So you've got Star Wars, you've got Star Trek, you've got the Family Guy Star Wars, which I referenced earlier. You've got Spaceballs. Man, oh man, if you can't find something in any of the 31 days, you can't get your teeth into it, you're just not one of the cool kids, I think, at this point. I mean, really, it's going to be a fun month. I look forward to it. I look forward to doing the shows I'm doing with JJ and the shows that we're showcasing here on the JJ Network with JJ. It's going to be a lot of fun. One more plug before I let us go here. I do want to throw that out there because she did an amazing job getting it here in the amount of time. On Etsy, you will find this lady, Creative Queen Bee. There's her Instagram account, also Creative Queen Bee. I pointed out to her that I was in a need for a costume piece that I could not find. And not only did she send a replacement, but because I had paid for the extra shipping, she sent an extra just cuz, which I found so admirable and so sweet. So I definitely recommend her work. They are quality of these things. I've fooled more than one person. I was asked very nicely to not wear it at the parks anymore. So I don't. But very, very well done. So thank you, Creative Queen Bee. I appreciate it. Check her out on Etsy, on Instagram. She does great work. And it's going to be, again, we go right, I said, well, I'll take a break when May hits. Nah, man, further on down that track. Can't wait tomorrow, Jay. What are you thinking the fans are going to say? Because I know the fans of DADS tolerate our Disney stuff. They tolerate your lack of current wrestling knowledge stuff. Where do you think we're going to see them go with the sci-fi? And again, we talk about this a lot on Wednesday's recap. Let's not kid ourselves, but since we're here, it's the end of the week. What do you think you're going to get out of the fans here in the next 31 days?
I think I'm gonna get them all over the place. The original Star Wars trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6, are so beloved that I think that's going to be where my bread and butter lies.
Mm-hmm.
Episodes 1, 2, and 3 are really dismissed this day and age, and it's a travesty.
Yes.
The way they are disregarded and crapped upon. And to a certain extent, episodes 7, 8, and 9 are kind of the same. Like they either love them or they hate them.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting as far as the Star Wars ones to see the daily response and the view count and everything on those. The Ewok movies, Rogue One, Solo, the holiday special, for lack of a better term, I think they're just bantha fodder.
Right.
They're just kind of there to help fill in the story.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to get too much bite on those. The Star Trek world, I really don't know what to expect because I am not, nor have I never been a Trekkie.
Right, definitely.
I have seen the first 7 films. I have not seen the 3 that came after Generations with the Next Generation cast, nor have I seen the current new trilogy. So I have no idea what to expect by watching the movies, nor do I really know what to expect from fan interaction and involvement as far as those go. Spaceballs and the Family Guy ones, I think, are going to be kind of fun to turn out because the Family Guy ones are going to be the shortest things I've reviewed to date.
Oh, for sure.
Because they all clock in at under an hour.
Yeah.
And when I reviewed these on Renegade's Reviews the first time when it was just an audio, I did those the same day that I did 4, 5, and 6 because they're the parodies of 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
But with needing to stretch out and fill an entire month, they're each getting their own day this time.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if I can go for 20 to 30 minutes talking about a 45-minute show. Right. At which point you may as well just watch the damn episode and not even watch me.
Shit, just do a watch along for those.
that's my basic, feeling on, but I'm looking forward to it. May is always May the 4th and Revenge of the 5th.
Right.
So it's the most opportune time to do this. And unfortunately, once it's done, it's not like I can repeat it next year for May the 4th, May the 5th.
Yeah.
So, it's very much a once and done. Once I get those out there, unless new installments get made,
Right.
whether they're side stories like Solo or a new trilogy begins, there's not going to be anything that I'm going to need to cover for Star Wars.
Right. Very true. Well, but there's also Mandalorian and the Obi-Wan series and the other ones.
But those are TV shows, and I tend to stay away from the shows.
That's true. That's true.
I only stick to movies.
Right.
Now, if The Mandalorian puts out a 2-hour movie, possibly. But, and I will touch on made for TV movies if the opportunity arises with a theme or something.
Right.
Like I did Roots. That was a mini series.
Yes.
But there's not really going to be anything after that. So that's the only sad point about doing them.
Right.
But alas, we've talked your ear off now for almost 2 hours. And so it is time to depart. Now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. MIC.
See you real soon.
KEY.
Why? Because we like you.
MOUSE. For the West Coast Professor Jeff Meacham, I am the Renegade JJ Williams. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with another Dads Not Always on Wrestling.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past. And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.